It's not always easy to figure out where to start laying down your tiles, especially when you're dealing with a pattern like this. I'm going to show you some basic tips that will make sure that you get the best results every time. One of the first things you have to do before you install your tile is draw reference lines on the floor. They allow you to pick the spot where you start laying down the tiles. Now the reference lines can technically be drawn anywhere, but you want to pick a location that gives you the best tile layout. And to do that, I want you to think about how your tile pattern is going to look in different areas in the room, especially the entryways and the edges of the wall. Entryways see a lot of traffic, and the tiles there are going to be noticed more. So you want to make sure that the tiles that you put in the entryway are nicely centered, either one solid tile in the middle or two on either side of the center. And you want to avoid having thin tiles. They don't look as nice as full tiles, and they might not stand up to wear and tear as well. Along the edges of the wall, it also looks nicer to have at least half tiles there. Plus, it allows you to adjust for less than perfectly straight walls. It's hard to get a layout that's going to look perfect everywhere, so you kind of have to compromise. And the best way to figure out the layout that's going to give you the overall best look is to draw a scale drawing of your room, and then you draw a scale drawing of your tiles and you overlay that on top of your floor plan, and then you can just move it around and see what's going to happen to your tiles in different places. Once you're okay with the way the tiles look everywhere in the room, then you know that putting the reference lines anywhere along the joints like this will give you the look that you want. Now there's another way to do this if you don't want to draw, and that's just to lay the loose tiles on the floor, starting from the point that's most important to you. You move the tiles around until you're satisfied with the way that they look, and like before, the reference lines need to line up with the joints. The first reference line I'm going to draw on my floor is going to be parallel to the side walls, and that's because my room is longer than it is wide, so when you walk in, you would really notice if the tiles weren't lined up with those side walls here, much more so than the end walls. So that's what you want to think about when you're drawing your first reference line. The next step is to measure the distance from the side wall to a joint near the center of the room. And then again, the exact same distance a little bit further down so that you get two marks on which to line up your chalk line. Nail in one end of the chalk line, align with your marks, extend it across the room, keep it in line with the marks still, and keeping the tension on the line, snap it on the floor. Don't worry if you need to try a couple of times to line up your chalk line perfectly with your marks. Just make sure you use the blue chalk and not the red one. The blue chalk is much easier to clean up. Now we have one reference line done. For the perpendicular line, you want to line it up with one of the side edges of the tiles, like here or here, so that they'll line up properly in the other direction. Here's a little trick to draw a perpendicular line. It goes back to geometry. It's the 3-4-5 triangle rule. By drawing a triangle with one side that's 4 feet, one that's 5 feet, and one that's 3 feet, you end up with a triangle with a 90-degree angle. Now to do this on your floor, you mark off 4 feet from the center point. Then you mark off 5 feet on your tape and pin it at the 4 feet mark. Pivoting around that point, you trace an arc on the floor at the end of the tape. Then you mark 3 feet on the tape and pivoting around the center point, trace another arc on the floor. Where the two arcs intersect is where the perpendicular line would go through. Once the reference lines are drawn, you can start laying down your tiles starting from where the reference lines meet. All of this prep work will pay off and give you a great looking tiled floor. Click on this video here for tiling tips around walls and round objects, and click on this video here for how to install tiles temporarily with double-sided tape. For more DIY videos, just go to engineeryourspace.com. And don't forget to join me on Twitter or Facebook for more tips. See you next time.